Hey everyone, it's Hit and Hustle from IRSportsDaily.com. I am your host, Greg Flamong, and with me as always is Jamie Ueyama. Jamie, the vibes after the UNLV game weren't what you would expect for a 23-point victory. Has your feeling on the game changed at all in the last, I guess, couple of days?
Not really. I think, this is one of these games where you rewatch the game. And you always see like slight things that maybe you maybe didn't notice or you liked more that you didn't notice enough during the game or that you
Yeah.
like less after. But I think for the most part, I have kind of the same feeling um, the issues on offense are the issues. They're some of the same stuff we've been talking about for weeks. And I think, for the most part, I mean, the defense, it's almost like a write-off game.
Yeah.
Obviously, um, for the most part, dominated. You get 9 3-and-outs, but then also gave up some stuff. But I mean, it wasn't the stuff they gave up wasn't like overly concerning to me in those for those specific situations. But
Right.
um, yeah, I mean, I think it's pretty obvious they got to play better. They're going to play two better teams these
Yeah.
next couple weeks.
Yeah. So we're gonna get into all of that. We're gonna get into that. For everyone who's tuning in right now, thank you for joining. For anyone who is watches the replay of this, if it's your first time, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and get the show out to more people. So the defense, just to touch on that real quick, I think without the two long runs, it's like 171 yards or something like that of offense on, I think, 3 yards of play, something like that. 59 plays, 170 something yards and 3 yards. They have 121 yards on those two plays. They had a 74 yarder and a 47 yarder, and like without the runs, that like the yards per carry was like 26 carries for 28 yards, something like that. So it's the two plays, and it is what it is. And obviously the plays count, but you see why they happen. Like there was one where they schemed it up real good, and they basically just got a free run into the
Yeah,
secondary, and
and
then
DJ
DJ
Brown
Brown missed the
miss a
tackle.
tackle. Yeah.
Right, and then the other one, like Nana is supposed to basically seal the edge, and he doesn't. Play gets outside. JD Bertrand doesn't get off a block, and they're off to the races. And it's a good chase down play by Houston Griffith. So that's kind of where it is from the defense. Let's do some quick hitters from the Marcus Freeman press conference. He talked about the lack of snaps for Brandon Joseph and Jack Kaiser, both injury related. They were both kind of head scratchers, especially the Joseph one, because he started the game, played the first couple series, and
Return
nothing,
punts.
and return punts. But defensively, it's nothing happened where it's like, oh, he missed a play somewhere in there, and it's like you get him out, kind of like as a penalty, right? But that's not what happened. They just pulled him, and also they were up 23-7, right? So it's like maybe we don't need to have him out there. And then Jack Kaiser, kind of probably the same thing, like the block punts and all those things that were going on in the first quarter that probably gave him a chance to do that. So he expects those guys to be back for the Syracuse game. Jamie, what do you think of of what's going on with Audric Estime? And he fumbles, obviously, third time in 4 games. He only gets 3 carries on the day, and pretty much he might have carried the ball after he fumbled, maybe one other time.
No, he didn't.
He didn't. Okay, and then I know he was they put him in some situations where it's like he's the blocker or something like that. So what do you think of that? What do you think of like Estime going forward, and what do you think of basically hey man, like you fumbled again, like we're pulling you out of this game, we're not going to give you the ball anymore.
I mean, I think that's pretty standard when a guy's obviously had multiple fumbles. Like they're going to take the guy out of the game, and obviously, like they didn't need him in the game, right? They didn't need him, and Diggs kind of filled that role that he was playing. I don't think going forward, I mean, I don't imagine he's going to be a guy who he'll get more chances. Maybe if he fumbles again, like, and then maybe that might be it. You know what I mean? Like that's what it could be. But I imagine he'll still get opportunities.
Yeah.
And I think if you look at it with those fumbles, I think the first one, obviously, he was reaching out, so wasn't securing the ball. Second one I thought was a really good hit. It was just like one of those ones. It was just
Yeah.
right on the spot. This one, I think it was partially where he was carrying it, like out in front rather than on his side, and I think that, and especially when you're going to, run a guy over. I mean, it kind of set it up. He kind of set himself up for it. So that was like, I. The third one I would say was on him in terms of how he was carrying it. But it's all like fixable. I don't think he literally has never fumbled in his life before this. So I think you know you give him more chances because he's obviously got talent. But if they got to if he fumbles again, I think they obviously have Tyree and Diggs, and I think Diggs can do you know he can run inside and run hard and do
Yeah.
a lot of the things that Estime does. Maybe not quite as forceful, but I think he reads it better than Estime.
Yeah. And I agree with most of the comments that we're getting about the Estime situation. I think it was fair to pull him, and I think he is needed still. So, and I think that's probably what will happen. But it's kind of like you said, they when you have three backs and you're putting it on the ground, they're going to put in the other guys. And then obviously Diggs had a really good game, especially in the fourth quarter. I think he got 15 carries in the fourth quarter. So, which is like maybe, I mean, it's definitely a season high. So it's in one quarter. So really good performance from him. I thought the offensive line was playing well. I guess we'll put up Matt's comment. The ball is the program. Okay. As Lou Holtz used to say, hold it like it's your scholarship. That's what Lou used to say, Jamie. What do you think of that great quip?
I don't think that's one of Lou's finest. So I'm
You
just
don't
gonna
think so? Hold
no.
on to it like it's your scholarship.
No,
You don't like that?
you know what? Lou's got he's had some gems over the years. I don't know. I could take it or leave that one.
Should Estime take the ball to class, a la Darnell Jefferson in the program, and I guess Bijan Robinson?
Are they going to have a scramble for it?
Yeah.
Class like
Yeah.
that? Oh, then
Yeah.
he should. They should
Okay.
get it on, put it on TikTok or whatever they use for that kind of stuff. And I mean, I think it'd be great entertainment. Go for it.
I don't think that I don't think people really want to be chasing footballs after Estime though. Just like the general
No,
population.
I wouldn't want to
I think
jump
they'll
in
probably
the
leave them alone.
although that was all football players who were going for it in that
That's
class.
true. A true fact.
I
But Darnell
mean,
Jefferson was not the size of Audric Estime.
no, Audric Esme looks like it was 8 Darnell Jefferson. He's
If you look at the photo, so every now and then, Dalen McCullough will tweet out the running back photo, the group photo from like picture day or whatever. And Estime is just so big.
He's just
so
a monster.
I'm
not even joking, and I actually kind of thought it was a fair question.
Yeah.
Somebody messaged me privately and was like, "Is it because his arms are too big?
Is he too big?
Is that why he fumbled?" And I don't think that is, but I actually kind of think it's a fair question because
Does he have too much muscle?
Wrapping up, you got those big old pipes. Like
he can't get the ball into the
can't get it into that cradle.
Can't get it into the crease.
Yeah,
his arms too much muscle.
Okay. Oh, sorry. I just saw baby. O-line is crap. I mean, have you been watching the O-line? I think that's a horrible take, baby beast.
Oh yeah. So I was actually going to talk about that, the offensive line, because I feel like the line is playing a lot better than people think. Let's get to Steve Miller for the super chat. Thank you very much, Steve. Thanks for doing this, guys. We're going to need all three running backs to win these next 2 weeks. Hopefully, Estime shakes these off. We agree. We agree with that. They are going to need all three running backs, and Estime, especially if they're good, if they're to beat Clemson, and if they're to beat USC, and even Syracuse, they need to be able to run the ball. So it's a good take, fair take. All right, let's talk about the offensive line, because I feel like they are getting the rushing yards are being maximized because of the line. Like Notre Dame is there are things that Notre Dame is not doing to help them out in terms of spreading them out. And Jamie, we're going to get to that in a little bit because that's the thing that has me pretty upset about. I've defended Reese, but there's one aspect of the play calling and the scheme that I'm not happy with, and so we'll get into that. So they have safeties crashing all the time. They're getting to the second level. They are, I think, 23rd in line yards on Football Outsiders, which is basically yards that the line is getting without the running back's help, right? So the first kind of 3-4 yards off the line of scrimmage, like that number has gotten better and better. And I don't think that they are saddled with, a bunch of like running backs that are very good at making people miss, right? Chris Tyree is not a guy, make you miss guy. Logan Diggs is, but he doesn't have the kind of wiggle that Kyron Williams has, clearly. And no one has that like burst breakaway speed.
Well, I think Tyree does.
Tyree does, but like he never
run him inside 40 times.
The other problem with Tyree,
throw the guy a bubble once in a while.
Here's the thing with Tyree though. There's been a couple occasions where it's like if he
beats one guy, he's gone. Yeah.
If he beats one guy, the problem is he never beats the guy, and sometimes he's in open space and he falls. He'll do the stutter step.
He has some kind of like weird balance thing, and I don't know if that's the shoes or what, but like it's happened.
He falls all the time. He's falling. He just that'll happen. It happens way too much. So it's like there are creases there, and so the backs are getting what's there from the offensive line and not really much else, right? And so I think if Kyron Williams was on this team, I think he'd be doing numbers, in my opinion, because he's a guy, get him in the secondary, make one people miss, and then there you go. So I think they're doing a lot better. That Drew Pine has a ton of time. They were a 90% clean pocket rate in this last game, right?
And he only got pressure 3 times.
Yeah, 50% passing on with those kind of numbers. It's just that's they're doing their part. Let's just put it like that. So
yeah, and I think Joe Alt is playing at a very high level. I think Blake Fisher has been really good the last like 3 weeks. Has gotten way better. I think Lugg is playing the best football of his career at Notre Dame. I think Patterson has been surprisingly more up and down than I would think, and I wonder if like that foot is still maybe bugging him a bit. And Corral is also like I think a little bit up and down. But I mean, overall, I think they have played really well, and I mean protection wise too. Like they've been great. Like that. Like look at all these plays with Pine. Like he's barely getting touched. I think. They've gone from in the first 2 games like looking kind of lost to being I think one of like I easily have moved into one of the better lines in college football. They're not Ohio State level. I don't think they're anything close to that, but they're definitely an improving group. And like if not for the offensive line getting better, I think they'd be hopeless on offense.
Are they the best unit on the team right now? I mean, kind of aside from tight end, because Mayer is kind of a position onto himself, but kind of eliminate that part of it.
I mean, I think it's pretty fair. I mean, I think the defensive line, I do think, the offensive defensive line have been the best 2 units on the team.
Yeah.
And maybe not have, and I would probably give in totality, I would say the defensive line, has been no, actually I'd probably give it. I'd probably say O-line has probably been a little bit better. And I guess that's where it comes down to it, because I don't think like the O-line hasn't been dominant. They've been good. And the defensive line hasn't been dominant. They've been good. And that's probably the issue, because you want those groups to be dominant.
Yeah. Let's get to this question from Patrick Quinlan. Do you think they are running Tyree on correct run schemes? Seems to be a lot of A-gap runs.
Well, they're not just doing A-gap runs, but it's a lot of stuff that's like inside. They're not doing they're like early in the year, they did some like jet stuff with him, right? Where they were getting him outside. And I don't know why they stopped doing that, really, right? Especially when you're in the 21. So it's like, I don't know if they're like saving some of that to kind of bring that back, but like all that kind of stuff with maybe some of it too is he's just because he like you said, like lost his footing on some of those, because those take like really sharp cuts to really like get upfield and hit the hole there. But I don't know. I think he's actually read it pretty well inside, and he's ran good. Like he's always like leaning, get like gaining maximum
Yeah.
yardage. I think he's probably proven that he can be like a much better inside runner than you would think for a guy his size and his like kind of style. But I just think like I think it's more of like not even just the running game, but just like the passing game of
Mhm.
like just getting him like I, not just checkdowns, but just like get this guy like literally, because if this guy's got a chance to beat somebody to the corner, I mean he's gonna beat him to the corner. Like that's
Yeah.
what he can do. So I don't know why they don't do that more with him.
Yeah, so I think you're right. He is good at reading it. He reads it fine. The problem is that he doesn't break anything. He won't break a tackle. He won't go one-on-one and win in the hole. And that's where he gets where it's like, "Oh, why are you running him inside?" Like cuz nothing comes of it, right? Cuz Estime, he'll run through a tackle. Or Diggs, he'll run through a couple of tackles, right? And so
I
there's
think
that
if, yeah,
piece of
like
it.
if with Tyree, you block it for 3 and he can get you 5. You block it for, you block it for 4, he get you 8, right?
Yeah.
That kind of thing. But I think that was where Kyron Williams, where you block it for 4, I mean, he hits 20 sometimes because he's able to make one guy miss in the hole or one guy miss the second level. And I mean, that's pretty much the difference, right?
Yeah. And there were so many runs last year with Kyron where it's like the play is blocked. Like if he runs it to where it's kind of blocked, he'll get 4 or 5 yards. But it's like he sees something blocking backside and he'll cut it back. And it's like, oh, now he's in the clear, and now he's open. And we just don't see that from these guys this year. Tyree especially. Like that's never been his game.
I think we've seen it from Diggs a couple of times, and he's gotten the corner a couple of times. In this game, like I thought he read it, like because
He
when he
tried to
found,
get the corner a couple
I
times and
think
then just got
I
tackled.
mean, I think those were good plays because
Yeah.
all he had to do was just if he beats that one guy, that's
Yeah.
like a 30-yard gain or whatever, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Apologies to Andrew Callan. What is this John Sott eraser? I don't, I'm talking about groups, not
Just
players.
position groups,
I
yeah.
do think there's a case to be made that they should rename the team MVP to the John Sott team MVP
He's been good. He's been really
as
good.
just like just this like going forward for the rest of Notre Dame, like their program, the John Sott team MVP. You know how they give them these names. I think that's good. I think that's a good way to do it. All right, so let's just get to this play that I'm upset about, Jamie. Here's a question before I get to the play that I'm mad. So I tweeted out, I guess it was Sunday. I tweeted out that if people are mad at Reese, and like every game, like the last two weeks, the comments afterwards have been Tommy Reese is bad. His play calling's bad. His play calling stinks. Get him out of here. Da 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 da. Like when I watch the game, and I'm curious to think if you feel the same. When I watch the game, I feel like these play calls are usually pretty good. And the scheme is usually pretty good. And there's like how many touchdowns have been missed in the last like 5?
5, I
5,
can.
6? Yeah,
We're
5,
guys
6.
where I would say, and I'm not talking about like, oh, like this was
If
close.
this
I'm
happens,
talking about like
like
guys are open
in
if you
the end zone.
in the end zone or running away from people,
Yeah.
like that no one would catch them.
Yeah.
So I think there's been 5 of those.
Yeah.
That's a lot. Yeah.
That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
a lot, especially when you lost one of those games by 2.
Yeah. And
That's
you'd
not
say
good.
those calls call the good play, Tommy. Those
Yeah.
are the good, those are the
those
good
are
plays.
the good plays.
Yeah.
And so I feel like the gripe with Tommy is more of a recruiting, evaluation, development complaint, right?
Yes.
Because it's like because usually what happens, usually the way it goes is like, okay, Tommy Reese stinks. It's like, well, no, he's calling touchdown plays, and the quarterback's just not hitting him. It's like, well, he's responsible for the quarterback. It's like, okay, that's true, right? But like, just be clear about what it is you're not happy about. You're not happy about the people and the way that they're playing, and not the plays that Tommy's calling. And so that's kind of where it is. Now, the frustrating part for me, and so I'll just get into see, I just like Pops, right? Like Pops McGee. No, Tommy is a terrible, unimaginative play caller. Like, I don't think that's true. I just
I don't think
don't.
that's true.
Yeah, like if he was so unimaginative, then how come Michael Mayer is always open? The guy that everyone,
Yeah,
the guy that
literally, like,
everyone
why
was
is he
focused on.
ever open? If you think
Right.
about it,
Why is he always getting all these targets, right? Like, what? So, he's doing all
why
these
is he
numbers
running down the sideline?
by
Like
himself.
wide open by himself for like a 20-yard game. How does
Yeah.
that happen?
How does he
Right?
get
That
the
happens because of
one-on-one
scheme.
matchup? How does he get the one-on-one matchup for the touchdown earlier in the game? How does he get the one-on-one matchup against Stanford? Like, how does he get all these matchups? It's because Tommy's scheming him open, right? So
No,
like,
he's not beating it. It's not because he's the best. It's not like he's like Michael Mayer, as good as he is, too. He's not a guy who's going to just like Brock Bowers is a much better athlete than Michael Mayer. He might actually just run by a corner, right? Michael Mayer's not going to run by a corner. He might, have a really good route and beat a guy or whatever, but he's not going to just win off of sheer just athleticism.
in other
He's not going to
words,
do that.
he's not Randy Moss, is what you're saying.
He's not even good. What? Pops, I love you, Pops, but like, just, let's.
So for people who are listening and not watching, Pops made a comparison to Randy Moss, which we appreciate. We appreciate.
I love you, Pops. Pops, thanks for coming in.
I appreciate it. And you know what? Thank you, Randy Moss, for considering Notre Dame. I appreciate that. But so here's the thing.
Still loves Notre Dame.
He loves Notre Dame. All right. So here's the thing that I am unhappy about, Jamie. And I said on Twitter, there's a play that has me on tilt, and I'm still upset about it. Okay, and I'm gonna bring it up. We can't do the thing because we'll get in trouble with the copyright and all that stuff. All right. So here's the play. Okay. This is a play. I'm going to put us on the bottom to make the play bigger. All right. So it's a zone read type situation where you can give it. They motion out Mayer and they run bubble with Styles, and he hangs here. Jaden Thomas blocks this man. Mayer blocks this man. This guy moves out a little bit for the motion, right? And so right here, you have 5 blocking. This is 7. If you want to consider him leaving the box because of Mayer, he only moves over a couple steps.
Yeah.
So that's 5 on 6 at least, right? Drew Pine, smart kid. Drew Pine knows how to count, right? So look, block. They're at the numbers. Okay. So here, go, Jimmy, go.
And I know this is, oh, no, you finish and then I'll go. You finish it. Sorry.
So what I'm saying is this player is, first of all, it's a still photo, so you can't tell, but he's moving back towards the line of scrimmage here. Okay. Yeah. Now Pine's just given it. So it's not like he is actually can actually see this. He can't react that quickly. Get it out here. Go down the sideline. These are free yards. Even if it's not a huge play. Even if it's not a huge play, you're still going to get 6 or 7. 6, 7, 8 yards. They're free. They just give them to you. And we've been talking about this for 3 years. Okay, we talked about it when we've been at the show, and then we've talked about it privately before I was working with ISD, and you would say, like, where's the RPO game? Where's the RPO game? And here we are still talking about RPO game. We are still talking about this. What were you going to say before
I was going to say that I don't think this is on Tommy Rees here. I think this is on Drew Pine because I think it's built in. And
I think it is too, because here's the thing. We don't know if it's actually like a live.
We don't know if it's a call RPO. Or if he has but if you look at, say, like this actually like specific play, I believe is like pretty much the exact one that or close to it. The one that like Styles, they ran against USC last year, right? That RPO. Um, where and that was one thing. That's one thing they did last year. Cone was really good with the RPO game last year, and he'd throw probably like I think at the towards the back half of last year. When I was charting it too, so it was like I want to say like 8 to 10 times a game he'd pull and throw on RPOs.
Yeah.
So and they did in this game, right? They took some of those free
They took a
access ones,
couple
right?
with Styles and one with Lindsey as well.
But this is an obvious one. And not only is it an obvious one to throw, but like you said, it's free yards. But with Lorenzo Styles, like literally last year, the guy had like a 29-yard gain and like a 41-yard gain off of this type of play
Yeah.
where just all you did is throw it out to him and all he did is have to just go like just turn on the turbo button and go, right? So I think that is built in, and we don't know for sure because maybe they just say, okay, here's the call. We're running this to kind of keep the defense honest, but we want to run the ball here.
Right.
But it really seems like an obvious pull to do this.
Yeah.
And I guess you could say maybe they're just like, we're not throwing it because we want them to always think it's run. And then all of a sudden we're going to break that out in these next 2 weeks or whatever, right? And then all of this, that's how you kind of get teams. You can, because of tendency or whatever, but it doesn't really make sense because it just seems like it should be automatic every single time.
And the thing that makes me upset is that maybe it is a Pine mistake, right? He shouldn't be making this kind of mistake. It's counting. It's counting.
Yes.
He knows how to count. And he knows how to, and you can't tell me that he can't get this ball out. You can't tell me he can't get a ball out. And to me, the first thing that every player, every quarterback should do when they come in, freshman year, Drew Pine is a early enrollee. Okay. Tyler Buckner, early enrollee. Steve Angeli, early enrollee. They're sitting behind guys. Hey, we're working on RPOs with you. You will be good at this. The first thing you will be good at as the quarterback of Notre Dame is RPOs, when to pull it, when to run it, when to do, what the numbers dictate you do. And we're going to do it over and over again, because if you ever need to come in the game, we're doing this stuff. Because you don't have to just do it this way. There's a lot of ways to do RPOs, right? You can run the same play over and over again, but you can pull it, you can run it yourself, or you can throw it out or give it to the running back.
You can run slants, like you can
do
ways,
all sorts of things, and all you have to be able to do is count. And it doesn't have to be a deep playbook. And Notre Dame has as a struggling quarterback with the downfield throws and all these other things that it's like, you look at it, it's like, man, if he would just hit it. But right now he's not hitting it. And we don't have this to the point where it's like we can count on it in a moment to where it's like, we're going to move the ball this way. We need to build his confidence. We need to get a rhythm going, and we need to get people out of the box. We need to get people out of here. We cannot there's no need to be running into an uneven front. Now, granted, Notre Dame is doing pretty well with that, right? The offensive line is playing well enough to where it's not prohibitive to them. But then you get bogged down, and you get to the point where it's like, okay, we can't move the ball in the red zone. And when we're trying to throw these quick passes that are getting knocked down at the line of scrimmage. So this throw over here has no risk of getting knocked down by the defensive lineman, because you're throwing it laterally. And it frustrates me that we cannot rely on this in moments where it's like, you know what, we're scuffling, because like, you look at Michigan, they do this stuff all the time. They pull or they throw, and it's like, that is the base of their offense, and then they build off of that. Like right now, like, did we see this action from Notre Dame ever again in this game? I don't think we did.
No,
I don't think we did. That we saw RPOs, but we didn't see this particular action.
You didn't see this.
And so if Pine made a mistake, then go back to it and say, hey, count him up, throw it out there. So that's where my frustration is.
Man, Eastside Irish, man, you're all over the map, man. This guy just came here just to rip on everybody. I mean, just go at it, man. Have a day. I just think that, like, with that kind of stuff, um, one, they're easy completions. They're easy completions.
Yes.
So you want to get some of those completion numbers up. That's how you do it. One, the other thing, free yards. It's free yards a lot of the time.
Just take it.
And I just think like so. I mean, you can't. I mean, there's obviously. Um, I think Notre Dame, what they do with play action. I mean, obviously they're effective with it because you look at like Pine and Buckner's numbers and how much better they are running play action than they are,
Yeah.
running, straight dropbacks, conventional dropbacks. But like this kind of gets added into it too, because you just add in this element to it. So like I was just looking at like PFF's thing, and obviously some of this is just like it's wild. I don't ever see this happening for Notre Dame because these are different kind of offenses. But like Hendon Hooker on Tennessee is literally 57% of his dropbacks are play action. It's because there's a lot of this kind of stuff.
There's a lot of the RPO game.
Yeah, built in, right? And I don't think I think that is obviously extreme. Like Jackson Dart, 64%, which is insane, but that is how Lane Kiffin, that's what they do, right? Caleb Williams, 45%, right? He's the fifth most out of anyone. But like they don't even, Notre Dame doesn't have to be 40%. They don't have to be 40% play action. I think 35% is like pretty fair. And that you just get to that extra percentage by just throwing these, really, and just throwing those kind of things. And I'm not sure. I've never been sure why they didn't do it, but I think about this a lot with everyone remembers that 2017 team that ran the ball extremely well.
Mhm.
And clearly they had a good offensive line. They won the Joe Moore Award, right? And like Quentin Nelson was like teabagging guys. He was destroying them.
Right.
Mike McGlinchey is a great player, right? Like they had a really good, Mustafa starts in the NFL, Bars in the NFL, right? Like it's a good line, right? But if you look at where they had a lot of success and like Josh Adams breaking a lot of stuff, there's a lot of that stuff was like scheme, but in terms of like they're running against light boxes, teams were, because Chip Long, they were worried about the RPO.
They would get it outside all the time.
They were worried about the RPO. And then eventually, like it became because Brandon Williams was scared to kind of throw those because he was struggling with them.
Mm-hmm.
But if you recall that NC State game, he had Josh Adams has like an 80-yard run. Mm-hmm. And you're like, what? Like, how does that even happen? It literally was like a straight dive play. They spread everybody out and made it look like, hey, there's the potential to throw this outside. He literally just, they had numbers. They just blocked it straight up and he ran straight down the field 80 yards. And yeah, obviously that's just like an extreme example of you're not going to get that look every time. But it is an example too, how when you do that enough, then that opens up other pieces of the running game too. And so you look at all this stuff that's congested with what they're doing with the running game right now too, where it's like, it's really hard to like, obviously when they outnumber you, even if you block it up good and your guys are, breaking tackles, it's really hard to break one. It's really hard to break one because they just have more guys than you. Right. And when you do that and you force numbers outside because of that RPO game, I mean, that's offense. Offense is counting. It's like, where do I have an advantage? Right. Like, oh, we got a 2-on-1 here, or we got even numbers here. Like, we got odd numbers here, so we can't do that. Like, that's how it works. That's literally like, as advanced you can get with scheme and some of that stuff, you can really take it back to how simple it is. And I think they need to be a little bit more simple with that stuff.
Right. Because it's easy to run. You don't have to make a bunch of reads. Like that's the point. Right. And it's like you talk about Notre Dame doesn't have to be 47% or 45% or 57%. But like those are the best offenses in the sport. And like the thing is too is in 2020, They go play Alabama, right? Alabama RPO'd them to death. They didn't throw the ball over 20 yards, but one time. One time they
Yeah.
threw it over 20 yards. It was incomplete. They didn't even complete it. But they just had explosive after explosive because all they did was, hey, if the box is good, we run it. If the box is not good, we throw it out. And that was all they did all game. You can go back and watch. Like literally, it's all RPO stuff, bubbles, slants, all those other things. And so that's what's frustrating. David Solomon puts up a comment here. Within 2 weeks, Pine has gone from completing 76% to 50% against lesser competition. To me, the lesser competition piece is like not even it is not even a factor because open receivers. That if you're open, you're open. It doesn't matter
Yeah.
who you're playing. I mean, the throws that he's missed like in the last 2 weeks are easier than any of the throws that he was hitting against North Carolina and BYU. Right. And
Yeah.
so it's just like that's just the fact of it. Right. So that's a problem right there. So this is a good point from Jack Hopkins. Weiss threw the same pass to Jeff Samardzija in the 2005 BYU game a ton of times because it was safe and got 10 yards each time. This is something that Weiss had. The look pass. It's an automatic. It was built into his offense. If it's there, you turn and throw it. I don't care what the call is, right? They always had the little look pass, the little quick bubble to Samardzija or Stovall. It was always on, and you just turn and throw it, and it's built in, and it's not scheme, and it's not anything else. It's just noticing that a player's playing off, so we're gonna take the easy yards, and they killed people with this. They did it in 2006 as well. So it's just I don't understand why they're not taking the free yards all the time, especially when you have a struggling quarterback who's not vertically stretching the field or he can't hit the yards right now, right? So that's something that I don't really get. Go ahead, Jamie.
Yeah. Well, then you get into second and short. So it opens things up. It opens up the whole playbook for what you want to do on the next play, right? And you get into second short or you get a first down and like you just keep going and like all of these things open up because of that. And that's really kind of like the main point.
And it frustrates me because we're having this conversation again. I'm tired of having this conversation. I really am. Kev's Cove, to borrow a Jude phrase, the offense specifically seems to zag while they should be zigging with RPOs. And of course, I have no idea what's really happening, but the result always comes off cute. I don't know.
I mean, I was going to say they did it last year.
Yeah.
So that's the thing. And maybe it is the quarterback because Cohen seemed to do it fine. And I think Buckner did it actually.
Yeah.
I mean, that was one of the things. The one of like
that's what he did in 2021.
Yes,
yeah.
That was
they didn't really show it.
No, they didn't really show it. But last year that was like something that was like basically that was all he did in the passing game.
Yeah.
Right. Is like early downs. They gave him the option of that is they'd either roll him out of the pocket, give him those easy, like one read RPOs. It's not there, run it. Or they give him like that kind of like that Avery Davis touchdown where he threw the bubble. Right.
Yeah.
Which is another thing. Like, there was a 4th and 3 call in the game. Mayer is okay. I get it. Mayer's 101. You think your guy's going to win that thing, but it was just one of those things where if they just have like a bubble check there, they throw it to Styles and it's either a first down or a touchdown. It's just easy. It's just there. Right. Yeah. So I think it's just one of those things too. Like, it's like, yeah, if say like Zach Martin and Chris Watt play the left side, it's like, well, we got to run behind these guys. Right. But they're outnumbering you to that side. Are you not going to run it to the right side there? Like that's what you would do. Right. Because, a lot of it too. And people don't like take what the defense gives you, but that's the whole thing. They're trying to take stuff away from you and you have to be able to like, okay, you can take that. Then you gave us this and you take it and say, thank you. And that's just like where you go. And I just think, I mean, there's a lot of good I mean, it comes off as like we're just like ripping on what they're doing and whatever. But there's a lot of good stuff going on. Obviously, we mentioned these like missed touchdowns, and they scheme up a lot of these touchdowns. But it's just like if they just added these other little pieces to it, I think the offense could all of a sudden just like become extremely efficient, and that's what they're missing.
And it helps the running game.
Yes.
Because you're getting people out of the box. And that's part of the problem with the running game. You're not getting explosive plays because there's too many bodies in there, right? And it's not like you can't run it. They obviously can, but you're helping Pine, you're helping the running game, you're getting the receivers involved, so it's all just it all kind of blends together, right? And if Pine is now a more confident player because he's hitting these routes all the time, they're moving the ball, then maybe he has a different kind of, I don't want to say attitude, but like he's not pressing when he has these downfield throws. It's like, oh, I got to hit it. Right. He's already in rhythm. Like he's already doing things. So that's kind of how I feel about that. Jamie, Notre Dame did some good things on third down in this game. I felt like they were doing a lot more stunts in games and that sort of thing. Why don't you, I know you did a write-up on the defense. Why don't you tell us some of the things that Notre Dame was doing on third down in this game?
Yeah, I think it didn't matter if it was just a 4-man rush or they did bring a lot more pressure too in this game, but it just wasn't like the standard of, so even where I know, you kind of did a thing on Twitter about like not having these second level defenders a lot of times in third and, forever or whatever. But, I don't mind that some of the time if it's 3rd and 18, because you should be able to rally up and tackle.
Right.
Like when you're just playing like just standard 4-man rush all the time with that, then I'm like, well, I don't understand what the point of that is.
Right.
Like you just, of course you're going to do it sometimes, but you have to attack protections. You have to make them think. That makes those guys slower. Those makes the quarterbacks reads because he's thinking about that too. And so they did a lot of stuff where like, even if it was like early downs where they were doing like, TT, like tackle, like where like Cross would go first and then Admiral would loop around them. They did things where it was like a TTE where like the tackles are going one way, the end is looping around back inside. Like they were doing a lot of stuff and it was looking like they did it this year. Like if you recall too, the one JD Bertrand, the one where he had the combined sack with Foskey. Well, he's lined up instead of like them running their like cross dog that they've done to death this year. He's like basically stacked up right behind a defensive tackle. So kind of hiding there and you don't know which way he's going to go. And then they run a stunt inside and he's able to kind of like loop around it, come around tight around the guard, gets in free. And then Foskey wasn't even running a stunt, but that also when they're worried about all that stuff, that means that Foskey's going to have a one-on-one there too. And that's how it all kind of opens up. And so I think that was, obviously they were 0 for 12 on third down in this game. And I think that was a big part of it. I don't understand. Like I can understand maybe some of the early down stuff. Maybe you don't want to take as many chances, whatever. I don't like it. I personally just feel like they should be a bit more aggressive with some of the stuff they do in terms of like slanting the line and doing things early to create more havoc. But especially on third down, like that's how you put pressure on quarterbacks. That's how you put pressure on protections. And then you don't even have to worry. Everything you're going to do on the back end is going to be the same. Yeah. So, and I think what they've done in the back end on third down for the most part has been sound. They just haven't done enough to kind of make it harder for the quarterback in the offensive line.
I felt like Bertrand had one loud misplay, was the 4th and 2 where he came free and he has quarterback dead to rights and he just whiffs. And that's, people are going to remember that. I remembered that. But I think beyond that play, I felt like this is one of his better games. Same with Marist.
I thought this was Marist's best game. I know it's UNLV, but I thought it was his best game.
Just the aggressiveness, right? And that's what you want to see.
Like he triggered and went.
Right. Yeah. So, that's what we've been asking for. And that's what we've kind of wanted to see there. What did you think of Prince Colley? What do you think of his play just generally? Because he's getting more snaps, but not a ton of production. He had some production in this game. But what do you think of the way he's played so far?
I think he looks to me like he's. I mean, he definitely shouldn't be like the starter. I know people want him to play more, and I think with more reps, he's going to get better and better. And he certainly like there was the one potential screen to the tight end that he was like all over, like
Yeah.
slipped inside of the guard, came and he was going to get a tackle for loss if not for that. And that kind of stuff is like where you just see him shine, because this guy can run and he can really like chase down guys in the open field and be a great space player. I think with some of the stuff in terms of I think he's a guy who really struggles to defeat blocks right now. Like if he's blocked, I don't like he stays blocked.
Yeah.
Right now, I think that's the big thing with him. But if I think if he's like free to run and stuff too, he looks good chasing it. He looks good chasing it. I just think, he's just like a tick slow with some of the recognition stuff. But I mean, I think I've seen it like improve like greatly from like last year, especially, but like even from earlier on this year. So, yeah, I mean, I definitely want to see more of him. And I think it was so in that sense too, especially like with Jack Kaiser, he only played 5 plays because I think what they say was an ankle with him or whatever. But like
it was a thigh bruise.
Oh, thigh bruise, yeah.
Yeah.
But with that, you're like, he doesn't need to play against UNLV. Like there's no need for that. This is a chance for Collie to get more reps. And so I think it was good for him to get that. I mean, he's one of the guys that you're kind of waiting and hopefully that, playing in these type of games against like Syracuse and Clemson are the kind of experience he needs to like really kind of like take it up a notch.
Yeah. It just seems like we're waiting for the light to come on there. And, there's kind of moments where the light is flickering and you just want it to kind of light up and stay lit. We had messaged about it. I thought Houston Griffith played a really good game. I thought he was aggressive. I thought he was coming up hard in the hole. He made some sure tackles, right? So solo tackles. He's not usually a solo tackle guy. And solo tackles like moving forward, because sometimes he's a catcher. And so he'll hit a guy and then he'll fall backward for like 4 yards. And it's like, great, you got him down, but it was 3rd and 4 and you hit him 2 yards short and he fell forward for another 4, so it's like, that's not good. So I thought he was aggressive. I thought he played a good football game. I mean, if you think about it, like his production compared to like Brandon Joseph is essentially the same. I don't think Brandon Joseph has any breakups this year. Neither one has given up anything really of note, so that's kind of like they're both kind of the same guy, which was obviously, I guess, good on Houston Griffith's part to be compared to that, and poor on Brandon Joseph's part to be kind of on par with Houston Griffith production. But there is something to be said for, you're not giving up anything explosive and you're playing your position, right? And you're not making the mistakes, right? Like I think DJ Brown has played better. And I'll say this. DJ Brown has had better moments than both of them.
Yeah.
But he also has the big missed tackle, right? And that's that's you could get him down at the 50 or we can chase him down to the 2, and that's obviously you'd rather get him down at the 50 there. Was there any other defender who I guess stood out to you? Riley Mills, I thought had a really good game again.
Yeah, I think, I mean, the defensive line in general were all pretty good. I think, Mills stood out again, especially like as a pass rusher. I thought he had a really nice game. Cross, I think, looked healthier to me, and I think that was big. So that was important. Jason Anadola, I think, probably didn't even really need to play in this game, and they probably could have sat him out. But so he wasn't like overly like noticeable, but I mean, that doesn't matter. He's more important in these next couple games. And I think like, Clarence Lewis obviously had the one big, forced fumble. That was big. I like Ben Morrison's game. I think he is close. I think he is
He
close.
needs to get stronger.
He needs the physical development. There's
Yeah.
no doubt. There's no doubt. So he
His
could,
feet are unbelievable.
yes.
He has such
Like,
good feet.
and I'll tell you with all this too, like they've thrown a lot of go balls against him,
Yeah.
and he's been there like each time. Maybe he's got to win in the catch point more, just a little bit more, but he's, been pretty good. I'm excited about his future.
Yeah. To answer Connor Higgins' question about Brandon Joseph, does he stay? Do you think he stays? Let's do that. Connor's asking, does Brandon Joseph stay another year? Does he even have eligibility left? Do you think he stays?
I think he stays. I just can't imagine him going. He just, I don't think the tape is good enough for him to go and for him to be, even like a guaranteed pick.
Yeah.
So maybe if he really, really wants to get out, but I don't see it. I think technically because of like the COVID thing, he's got 2 more years left after this if he wants to. But I would guess he would be like, 1 at most.
Agree. I mean, he would want to. I don't know if he's graduated yet or what, but
No, he hasn't. So.
Oh, okay, so then he could just do a non-degree grad year. I think he should. I mean, I think especially because I think that secondary has a chance to be really good next year. Because Cam's another one where it's like, I mean, could leave, but I would want.
I don't think I don't think there's any chance of that now.
Yeah, I would want to stay if I was him. Because he's a guy who it's like sometimes it's like, oh, he's not going to get any better. Like I disagree with him. I think he could.
No, I think he has a chance to get a lot better.
Stock. Yeah, I think he could vastly change his stock. So I would, if I was him, I would stick around. And obviously the special team situation, Jamie. The block punts. I mean, it seemed like they could have. It seemed like they could have blocked as many as they wanted to. I almost feel like they just decided not to. And then
maybe went after one more after that.
Yeah. And then there was a kickoff return that, man, if Joe Wilkins just continues up, I think Chris Tyree gets outside. They had a left return on, and UNLV was trying to angle it to their left, and they were out leveraged to the outside. I think he gets outside, and that goes all the way. But a pro tip: if you're an up back, you got to do it like you're the returner. You have to find the hole and get through the hole and get running. You cannot stop in the hole because then he runs up your back like Chris Tyree did. But I think it was set up nice. I think they had some good punt returns when they weren't blocking punts. I thought they had good punt returns there. And the thing about being aggressive on punt block is that that's what their focus is. They're not focused on running down the field.
They can't run down a cover as well. So then
you got to be careful. Right. So you got that. There's nothing to be said for kickoff team. I thought, obviously Groupie missed the one kick, which was bad. That didn't come off his foot very well, but the other ones, he's like 8 of 10 on field goals. So, shoot, special teams.
He's 80% on the year. You'll take it.
Yeah. Especially when it was like, are they going to be 40% on the year, right? Yeah. From what we've heard. So, that looks good. So, Jamie, I think we'll wrap it up there. We've got the Syracuse preview coming up, and I'm just going to preview the preview by saying if Notre Dame doesn't win this game, I'm going to be pretty upset. And that's how I feel about it. It doesn't really have anything to say about Syracuse. I think they're a solid team. They have good defense. They have a good offense, and they're it's not like a pushover or anything like that. But I think Notre Dame, it needs to be to the point where I've been pretty light on Marcus Freeman so far. I think if they don't win this game, I'm going to be in a pretty bad mood. I'm going to be in a pretty bad mood about it. Where it'll be 8 games in, and to lose would be just a poor job coaching. So,
the only thing I'll say to that is Drew Pine going to be like as bad as he was the last couple of weeks? Because then I can't put it out on Marcus Freeman.
So it's not that I can't put it on Marcus Freeman. What the point is that it now we've seen, because there's a recipe.
There's still a recipe for them to win this game with not really relying on
Right.
Ryan very much at all.
And the
So
thing is too is like so the Cal game was the Cal game, and then you got good play against North Carolina and BYU, and I think for them to have to expect the same thing against Stanford, I think was fair. It's fair to expect that. And then maybe you think you'll get a bounce back against a lesser opponent in UNLV that they didn't get. So now to me, it's like with the RPO stuff, it's like you now have to have a plan for what are we going to do if Drew isn't feeling it again? What are we going to do then? And because that, to me, at this point, it's a coaching thing. It's like we kind of know what we could get both ways. So you got to be ready for that. And I'm just not like, to me, that is an acceptance of losing to a team that you should beat that I'm not comfortable with.
yeah, 100%. They're should, roster wise, they should win this game hands down.
Right. So that's how I feel, but we'll get into it on Thursday. So thank you everyone for tuning in. If this is your first time, hit the subscribe button, hit your like button. If you're watching on replay, do the same thing, right? But more people, I think we're getting a lot of good comments on the show. I think we're just not enough people know about it. And maybe that's our fault. I don't know. We need to do more. This is going to be put out as a pod feed too. Eventually, we're going to set up a Hit and Hustle pod, and that's going to be being put out. So be on the lookout for that. We're going to be back on Thursday, same time, 8:30 Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern. Preview Syracuse. So Sagen Park, man, Jamie.
Thanks for hanging in. You're the man.
From Korea, all the way. He came calling from Korea. He was on the morning after show as well, dude. He stayed up for it. He stayed up. We were waking up. So we really appreciate that.
Wow, that's really staying up. Good job, man.
All right. Yeah. Thanks for always tuning in, Pops. We appreciate everybody. Kev's Cove, no problem. Thank you for great analysis. Pops says have a good day. Appreciate everyone. We'll see you guys on Thursday morning.